Hello Figgy Fiends and Collectors, this is me, Daniel East 1000, back again with another Star Wars The Black Series 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back figure review. Today we're going to be having a look at R2-D2, but first, as per usual, we'll have a quick look at the packaging, then the figure itself. Of course, this line is in a vintage style card rather than the rectangular box packaging. This is obviously to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Empire Strikes Back, which is signified by that little sticker at the top there. So all the characters in this assortment are characters from the Empire Strikes Back and feature on this lovely vintage styled Kenner card back. Of course, you've got the Kenner logo there. Nice picture of the character, as well as the name at the top there. Where the figure would sit, of course, there'd be a bubble there so you could see the figure itself in all its glory. Not sure if I would say too much about this one, but we'll get to it in a moment. And if you turn it to the back, you've got a whole rundown of some of the other figures in this assortment. So first and foremost, there's two figures which are new that are released features on here. I've found out recently that the Vader, if I'm not mistaken, is coming in the line, or I think for some people actually out. It's got some little additions that kind of push it to be, at least in my opinion, a bit more of a new figure. But nonetheless, the two new ones that we see featured here are Luke, of which I have reviewed. This is of course the Luke in his Snowspeeder gear, and not only that, but the Hoth Rebel Soldier. All the other figures in this assortment are basically repacks with some repaints, and the new face technology TIE Fighter pilot is basically just a straight up repack, and the Lando does feature the new face tech. And this R2-D2, which we are reviewing and we see here, is basically a repack, but I'll get into them when we get into them. And of course, just to wrap up the packaging, you've got no bio on the character itself, just the line, which is a little bit unfortunate, as well as a ton of legal garb, of which we've all become too familiar with. So that is the card back packaging out of the way and done with. And here we have the figure itself, of which I don't want to be negative, but Hasbro kind of dropped the ball with this one, because I think they could have really had the opportunity to make some tweaks, make some changes to bring it to a relatively decent standard. This, as I said, is a repacked figure from an R2 that we got in the very first wave of Black Series, and I have that figure. It's not a bad figure, but at the point we're at now, Hasbro should have gone back to the drawing board with this one and reworked some things. So first and foremost, proportions on this guy are slightly off compared to other figures, and that was even the case when the first release of this guy came out. So just for example, the dome, I feel like it should be shorter than that. I'm not too sure, but there's something certainly off about it. The legs as well. These pieces here should meet more towards the base of R2's body. Not only that, the figure features this rotating head thing where if you rotate his head, his third leg will extend down. And it should come about there, but the problem is if you bring it to about there, R2's head is this side. So to get the head to face forward, you have to bring it all the way to there, and well, the leg just overextends. And on a case with this figure, it doesn't really work, because not only does that extra piece look a little bit ridiculous, but they've not even weathered it, so it just doesn't really blend in particularly well. This feature is just something I really think Hasbro should have scrapped by now. I would have much preferred a leg that you can just insert rather than extend using the head. It's a little bit gimmicky. Not only that, but if you want to rotate the head, the leg does start to extend down or up, and you can only move the head a certain amount. It's a minor little problem, that, but it's still one that I think we're at the point now we should have an R2 that doesn't really do that. Furthermore, and again this is a slight complaint, starting off in terms of accessories, you have this, you know, little telescopic binocular thing that he has in the film when he falls into the swamp, and he uses that to find his way around. That original figure came with this, and it also came with a ton of other accessories, and you can remove this and you can plop on a little, you know, panel piece which does slot into there like so. But of course, because it features that, it also features all the other panels from all the other accessories that you could insert into this figure's head when it was first released. So you've got the slot for the lightsaber, and then the slot there for, I can't remember what else it actually came with, but you know, all the little accessories that that first figure came with. And to me, it feels like they should have either reworked the dome or had these all stuck on. Personally, I would have liked to have seen the dome reworked, just because there's an awfully garish mould line there. It's not too bad, but it's just, you can see a bit of mould degradation going on to this guy now because the sculpt is that old. Furthermore, because of those panels, you can remove these panels because the original figure featured jetpacks to make it not really film specific, but of course this one's going for a more film specific thing. Yeah, for some reason it features these, and these should have been glued down. I mean, you can easily glue these down yourself, so that's that, and that's really it in terms of accessories for this guy. You just get this. I wouldn't have minded it so much if it did come with all the other accessories, even though it wouldn't have made too much sense with this guy, but it feels like you're paying the same price for less. In terms of other little features, if you open these panels up here, on this side you've got his little grabbing arm. And just mention about accessories, actually going back to that, they could have really included the little flashlight that Yoda has a fight over R2 about, but no, they didn't include anything like that. But nonetheless, you pull this one out, this side. Now on my one, the arm in here is very, very stiff, and I feel like I was stressing the plastic almost to the point of breaking it. That goes to show kind of like how the mould is starting to degrade, but you can pull that little shocking or terminal commanding arm, whatever you want it to be really, you can pull that out like so. But on mine at least, it was very, very stiff. It did feel like I was stressing the plastic to the point I was maybe going to break it, but you can swivel that back in, and I'm probably going to keep that displayed inside the figure like so. In terms of articulation, there's not really too much to complain about in terms of that, because it is an R2 figure, and R2 doesn't really have that much articulation, but he has a swivel head, of which of course when you do that it can only move to a certain point before the leg starts extending or the head starts jamming. You've got swivel at the top of the legs there, swivel in the feet, you've got a swivel in the top of the legs which do a full 360. You also have pivots in the feet like so, and furthermore you also have, if we bring the third leg down, a little bit of movement in that foot there as well. He do be having rolly wheels though. One positive I can sort of send you home with in terms of this figure is the weathering paint apps, which do look rather nice. He does look pretty damn grubby, particularly on his front there, and I think Hasbro did a pretty good job with that. Overall, I feel like this is a figure that Hasbro could have definitely worked on before releasing it. The body itself, I think, is personally fine. It just needed just these legs reworking, and the dome. A removable leg wouldn't have been too much to ask. Some additional accessories as well, like the light, of which would have accompanied the Luke and Yoda 2-pack, which has just recently been released. That would have provided more display options for your R2 and that Yoda perfectly. I don't like complaining about figures and stuff, so receiving this, it's fine, but Hasbro could have retaken the opportunity, like with many of the other figures they've released, and took the time to improve it, tweak it. Ultimately though, I do feel like Hasbro has dropped the ball slightly on this one. We know they're happy to rework stuff, but why is something like R2-D2 being left to the wayside? Don't get me wrong, this isn't a horrible, horrible figure, but it is probably, if not the weakest Black Series figure there is in terms of sculpt overall, and that goes for the first release as well. That doesn't get away with anything, but at this point now in 2020, this guy should have been improved. So Hasbro, if you're watching, I don't want to be negative Nancy, but try and spin this as a positive. Overall, I hope I've not been too harsh on this figure, and if I have been, let me know in the comments down below. But This is me, Daniel East 1000, sign out. Thank you very much for watching.